Welcome back. So we can actually present the data. I just proved that in the last video. Now for posting the data, let me just change a few things here to edit this guy. And let's try and say Superman and bowl of snot, no snails. And I'll do save and we'll do a post request here. There we go. Now the edit post request, let's start up by seeing it actually changed it, right? Superman bowl of snails, so it worked. Now what does it actually do when it sends this over to the edit view? Let's have a look. Well, it looks just like the create view. It sends the name, the person status, and these wishes IDs as a list. So what did we do in the edit view? Remember again, we have to look in the post now instead of the get. I scroll down, I do exactly the same that we did in the create view. I pull in the wishes, in the array, I go in here and I add all the wishes, and then I update the person. So nothing has changed in here compared to the create view, but something has changed in the update person manager. So let's just go there to the person manager, the update function, just to show you what actually changed in there, because that is actually a rather complex function now. And this is kind of where we started out, what I wanted to show you guys, how complex it is to do an update. So the first thing I do here is to actually go in and grab the person directly from the database. So I pull out the real person from the database, not the one that we are actually manipulating right now. So think of this as we have a guy in memory. That's the person, the T here. That's the guy that's in the memory inside the browser right now. So that's the controller's person. But there's a real person, not a real person, but a more correct person inside the database. It's not a real person. I don't put real persons in databases. But we can actually pull him out by using the ID of the memory person and pull out the existing person from the database. Now when we're in the database, if we find the actual person, so the first thing we do is pretty much just pull out all the guys that are not inside the person in memory, but do exist inside the database. We want to remove those wishes. They should not be there anymore because they are not in the memory person, but they are in the database, right? Does that make sense? I hope so, because I'm just starting to map the things correct again. So we say if they exist in the database, but they do not exist in my local memory setup here, they should be removed. And then I do it the other way. If they do not exist in the database, but they do exist in the memory person, they should be added. That's how I kind of make sure that the database and the memory things are aligned, right? Then I go over and I say for each guy that I want to remove, just remove him from the database. For each guy I want to add, attach him, meaning again, like before, I do not want to change the wish. I do not want you to, this is just another way of doing the unchanged one we did before. I do not want you to change the wish. I do just want to change the relation of the wish, not the actual wish. So that's another way to do it, by saying attach the wish. And then I just add them all to the existing person again in the database, and then I kind of end up just storing the existing person. Now that's not enough, because I also changed the name of the person and the status of the person when we actually did this edit. So I also have to explain those two. And then the last thing I do is I just make sure that he knows that the person has now been modified. And then in the end, using my abstract manager, I call save changes. So let's just go to the abstract manager in the end here. I call, after I did the update down here, I end up just saving changes. That's all I had to do. But notice how complex it actually is now with the manager. I have to first go in and update the references with all of this. I just go in and update the right references. So I make sure that this table is correct. When that is done, I go in and then I update the actual person, right? And then when that is done, I go in and I make the state modified. So the existing person is now modified, and then I save the changes to the database. So that's how much you have to do with the many-to-many relation to make sure it works. Where in the old way, we pretty much just had the state here changed into modified, but now we actually have to do some manual work as well. So in later videos, I might show you how we can make this easier when we get to the API series, but right now this is what you have to do. So now everything works, everything's running, and I'm a happy guy again, and I can actually start editing as well. So next lesson, let's try and look into the delete. See you next time.